Okay, guys, we're gonna quickly just start. So what we do, we just go through the niceties, etc., explain what we're about. But hope you guys are blessed. Thank you guys for being on time. Hopefully, people will join us within the next few minutes. But so yeah, quickly for those who are not are new to the A team, welcome. My name is Karun, and I want to welcome you to the A team. I'm just gonna give you a quick update about what we're about. So the A team, we are literally the vision behind it. What the A team is about is to establish a global network of the ambitious and financially blessed. How we do that, the mission is by firstly identifying, then nurturing and integrating current and aspiring high performers into our network of online bread farmers. And by online bread farmers, I'm talking about people that go online, they sow their seeds to make bread, mullah, yen, franc, whatever currency you can think of. We want to make money online. Additionally, the what our members, we are a community, a family of ambitious internet entrepreneurs on a mission to know ourselves, clarify the vision, and of course, make it real. Some of our core values are as follows. The first being ambition, gratitude, self-awareness, perseverance, continuous learning, eclecticism, and of course, impact. So these are our core values. So if anyone invited you to the call, people that are watching this, etc., on the replay, if you've been invited to the call, if you subbed into our opt-in link, then you know that you have one of these traits. So congratulations. The 18. So for those who don't know, the A in 18 stands for active, and that's active commitment today inspires victory every day. And of course, we affirm, we commit, we test, we iterate, and we validate, and then we execute on our plans to make it real. A quick plug. So for those interested in joining a book club where we share all things mindset, business, and money for current and aspiring high performers, you can check the link now. And Sam has kindly shared the link so you guys can have access to it. It's great stuff. It's in a beta mode right now. So if you guys are interested, we'll be doing 2 Zoom calls a month where we literally share one book via email, and then we can discuss it as a group if you're interested over Zoom, etc. Just to share all things about mindset, business, and money. So therefore, look into that if you're interested. So links will be shared in the chat, so check it out. As well as that, if you're interested in joining the A team to see how we can help you out in terms of your business, in terms of you starting online, if you're new or if you're an existing entrepreneur, then by all means, please email admin@tarkarun.com, subject line, join the A team, and Layla will handle your query for you. So for those who are here right now, it's time to block all distractions. So if you're online, if you're on your phone, etc., if you're on your laptop, please, you might just close your tabs for a bit and listen to pay attention. And for those that listen to the end, you will be eligible for a free consultation. There's only 5 slots available. As I can see from the call right now, there's not that much people here right now. So hopefully everyone that's here that has a business that they want to have a consultation with, you'll be eligible for that spot. So let's make that happen. And the value of that is £500 an hour that Martin has kindly said he will do it for free for 5 special people. So thank you for blocking distractions. So for everyone that's new, you guys should know that we normally start these quotes with a quote. And the quote I'm going to start off with is, there is no such thing as failure, only results. And because we're a small group and are allowed, so who do you guys think said this quote? I'm not sure if it's that famous, but feel free to share who you think. It's either on the chat, you can unmute yourself. Who do you think shared this quote? Jobs, nope. Rob, yeah, you got it right. Nice, a tie. Okay, so the answer to that is Tony Robbins. So Tony Robbins shared this quote, and obviously I hope it's quite self-explanatory. So there's no such thing as failure, only results, meaning that wherever we are in business right now, if where we are, the results we have is if it's negative, then you know that okay, something has to be changing the formula. If it's positive, that means something is right, and we need to identify where it is, and then what's it called, double down on what that is. So Martin, so I assume that you unmuted yourself so far. So can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Perfect. So let me know if everyone can hear Martin in the chat, please. Just give us a thumbs up or a yes if you can hear Martin. And before we get started, all clear? Perfect. Cool. So let me quickly just introduce Martin to you guys. So Martin, he's the founder of thecustomerswhy.com. Additionally, he runs an event with Google called the Founders Live London, which I'm sure he's going to share with you guys during the end of this call. And as well as that, he's a behavioral scientist with over 20 plus years experience as a digital marketing consultant for e-commerce brands. So Martin, thank you very, very much for joining the call. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing well, Ty. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Anytime. So how's the day been? How's everything going on your end?
Been an interesting day. I was out with the innovation consultancy today, which is always interesting work. So a little bit of e-commerce, a little bit of FMCG. So yeah, it's been a cool day. It's a good way to end it.
Okay. No worries, that's fine, man. But yeah, thank you again for jumping on the call, and thank you because I know that you work with a lot of clients, and for the fact that you've managed to free some time to share some value with us. It's much appreciated. So I thought, so because it's quite a small group of us today, what we'll do, we'll make it as very interactive as possible. So you guys, your screens, your volume, sorry, your audio is muted. However, if you feel like you wanted to like this, have a suggestion or you wanted to say anything, you can either write it in the chat, and at the end we'll have a live Q&A where you can ask any questions, etc. And I know there's a person here that's submitted his website for review, so we'll have a chance to be interactive during the call. Is that cool? And yeah, so what I want to do just to kind of get everyone just some background about who you are. So please share, like, Martin, could you share your backstory about how you started, and yeah, who's Martin Lucas?
Sure. So I'll give you a really quick version of it. So as you mentioned, that I've been fascinated my whole life by human behavior. My actual skill set is mathematical logic, so that just makes me really good at problem solving and thinking quickly about problems. That's what mathematical logic is.
Yeah.
Where I happen to have pointed it is towards my passion, which is understanding the data and of how humans make decisions. And that's what I've spent my life doing. So I spent my 20s with real jobs, to use my mum's language.
Yeah.
I worked at BT, and I worked up the chains. I was running large sales and marketing groups, did a little bit of product management, that kind of stuff. I left BT when I was 28 and started different businesses. So I've had 4 different businesses. I've published 3 books. Everything has been about human behavior, about optimizing performance. So that can be online and offline. Yeah. And then in 2015, what got me started on the customer's why was that I'd built up hundreds of theories about decision making, about emotions, about different types of psychology. So I wanted to give up everything I was doing to go and study that. So I did. I sold the business that I had at the time, sold the rental property, spent 2 years doing research, actually took 26 months, 2 years doing testing, and then took the customer's why to market 3 months ago. And it's going super well. And I can explain a little bit more about what that looks like, but that's a super brief timeline of my history.
Okay, thank you, man. Thank you for sharing it. I'm sure we'll definitely want to explore that as the time goes on in the call. But I thought, because I know we have an agenda right here that we want to stick to. So Martin, so if you guys have been there for the previous calls over the last few weeks, we know that we've had a variety of different speakers. What normally happens is that we go through like a live Q&A where I ask a lot of questions, and at the end, you guys can obviously open up the floor. I open up the floor to you guys to ask your questions as well. But in this case, I'm going to ask Martin a few questions, and then he's going to basically open up and share his screen and go through a presentation that he feels will be best, will add value to you guys in the most in the best possible way before he goes into the live reviews of the websites. So thank you again for opting for that, Martin. So the next question I have for you, so you mentioned the customer as well. So what is it exactly that you do, and how does it bring value to your clients?
So the biggest gap that I feel that there's in the world is, so I'll give you a great example of one of the things I started with in 2015, is that across all industries, every single industry, the very best click-through rate, CTR as it's known in marketing and advertising, right? The best click-through rate for advertising adverts is 1.61%. So if you think about that, across all industries, the very best result you get is for every 100 adverts that somebody sees, they click less than 2. My point about that is that we don't understand the context and the relevancy of what matters to people, and therefore we don't understand what products and services to give them. And that's one of the problems that I wanted to solve with the customer's why. So what I've built is 2 products. One that's all about understanding the human side of a service. So if you want to sell them a certain product, and that's, we're going to look at, I believe, 3 websites later, right?
Yeah.
We're going to do a live test about that, and we're going to do some examples about, does this website understand the context and relevancy? Like, how can we help optimize that website to better serve the customers? And then my other product does exactly the same, but it's just on data. So that's what my specialism and what my business does, is optimize services so that you can sell more by giving people more of what they want and less of what they don't.
Okay, perfect. So on that note, so what I'll say, you said you had a presentation ready for us. So what I'll do is I'll give you the ability to share your screen. So we'll do that now. Let me just organize myself and make that available for you. So do you have your slides ready?
Yep.
Okay, 1 second. I'd like to share your screen now. 1 second. Yeah.
Okay.
And guys, so before you start, so guys, while this presentation is happening, please ready your questions. I know a few people have sent me questions beforehand. So if you have any questions during the call or during the presentation, save it for now, and then we'll literally go answer them during the live Q&A. Thank you.
So what I thought I'd do, everybody, is that there's no point in me talking about digital advertising and optimization and things like that unless I help you understand how you actually make decisions. And I've done this a load of different places. I was out with the vice chairman of Ogilvy last week, and we're going to be doing stuff with these Google events that Ty mentioned and stuff like this, right? So I've worked up and down the value chain, and I always start with this as an explainer, because one of the problems for me, why that 1.61% exists in the world, is that in order to understand how to serve humans, we have to understand what matters to them. And this has always been a challenge in the world, because I don't believe, and I've got a lot of proof for this and tons of case studies, but we're going to do the test with the 3 websites, right? So you'll get a live version of this. I don't believe that humans understand humans. I don't believe they understand how people make decisions. So this is part of the reason. So if you look at how the brain makes decisions, we've got this database of past experiences, which is our unconscious mind. So that's how we make decisions. The brain's always hunting relevancy. So as an example, if you're walking down the street and a Ferrari drives by and a plane flies over your head and a bird flies over, you don't look at all those things. You don't think about all those things. What happens inside the brain is, let's say that you were 5 years old and your granny took you to an airplane museum. And when you were 7 years old, your mum took you to see an air show. And when you were 9 years old, you got up at school and you did a show and tell for airplanes, right? What happens inside the brain is the brain says, okay, as an individual, you've got a preference for airplanes. So when you walk down the street, if you don't have a preference for Ferraris, you don't register it. If you don't have a preference for birds, you don't register it. But when a plane flies by, you look up because you have an interest for it. That's how the brain works. That's the unconscious mind deciding what it looks at. Then you have things like the data of life. So we have a lot of data coming at us all the time. We check our phones 47 times a day, up to 84 times a day, depending on which reports you read. We're checking social media. We see tons of different ads. It's a lot for the brain to take in. So we ignore everything that we don't feel is relevant to us, but it all happens unconsciously. If you think about that, that's pretty mad, because most of the decisions that you still make today are based on things that happened by the time you were 14, which is the 2 foremans of the brain. And then you've got your mindset and your mood. You've got your cultural stuff like your bias, your conditioning, your standing in life, how other people influence you, your relationship to a brand. So the way that loyalty works inside the brain is very much like a relationship of how you feel like an individual, right? So your loyalty is not to, say, Hugo Boss. It might be, I happen to have a Hugo Boss t-shirt on, right? And I like the Hugo Boss orange brand. If you show me an advert for, say, the Hugo Boss green and the golf and polo shirts, my brain will register unconsciously that it's Hugo Boss, but it'll reject it because it's not relevant to me. And that's more what loyalty is. And then you have the real stuff that really busts it open, which is the psychology of self. So in the same way that you know how to make yourself a cup of tea and how you're going to dress yourself, your brain styles you in the same way. So you only select certain clothes, certain items, certain things that you're actually interested in. My point about this is, and I'm overemphasizing it, because if you add up all of this, the brain is really complex. So it's actually really difficult to understand an individual and how they make decisions. And this is all the stuff that I studied for 4 years, over 50 different disciplines of science, psychology, mathematics, economics, all that kind of stuff. And what I wanted to do was this. I wanted to figure out how we could make that as simple as possible. And we are going to cover this in the 3 examples, but this is the thing that I think is always great, right? What actually creates the individual? So the first thing that you've got is your science, right? So if you've got a chemical and biological predisposition when you're born. And what I mean by that is, let's say that you've got depression in your system and it gets given to you as part of your DNA, right? At some point in your life, it's likely to get activated. You can't get rid of it, but through meditation and through medication or whatever you choose to do, you can manage it a little bit, right? And that's really the nature of life. You've got the science of who you are as a person. The bit where self-awareness comes into it and where you can optimize, and I promise you about this, I've worked on addiction, I've worked on trauma, I've worked on all kinds of different types of meditation and therapy and stuff. Philosophy is the nurture side, psychology is the nurture side of life. So psychology is no more than where you spend your time, like being on this call, people you spend your time with, like me, myself and Ty, which is obviously a wonderful decision that you've made today, right? And it's how people influence you, and that can be conscious and unconscious. Those things together becomes the balance of who you are as a person. One thing I'd love you to take away from today, nothing to do with marketing or sales growth or optimization, is that everything is optimizable in your brain. So what happens is this idea that you think that you're not good enough, or you're not smart enough, or you shouldn't try it, or you keep yourself safe, that's other people have influenced you, and it eventually becomes the voice inside your head. All of that is interchangeable. It's only the chemical and biological predisposition. You can manage that, but you can't get rid of it. And I always love talking to people about that. What that does is it then creates this mathematical logic of how you make decisions. So your past experience, how people influence you, what your predisposition is as a person, that's how you actually make decisions. And I think that's super interesting. What I did with it was to then say, okay, what does that actually mean? And what it means is that you have your values as an individual. So you define yourself. This is what my ethics are. This is what I believe. This is what I'm going to stand by. Therefore, these are the people that are going to be my friends. This is where I'm going to spend my time, and so on and so forth. That then creates this relevancy. So you've got this brain that's saying it adapts slightly over time. So humans do change, but it's very gradual. We're generally not aware of that change. But the brain is always hunting that relevancy. Do you like Ferraris? Do you like birds? Do you like planes? Do you like Hugo Boss Orange? Do you like Hugo Boss Green? And the reason the brain needs to automate all of that, I call it the efficiency trick, because if you had to think how to make a cup of tea every day, or how to dress yourself, or how you were going to style yourself, you'd never leave the house. You'd be spinning in circles because it's far too many conscious decisions, right? And what that leaves you with is this context of who you are as an individual. And that's your kind of balance of what this triangle of self looks like. If you can interrogate that, if I could understand who Martin was as a person, who Ty was as a person, and where the differences are, I would know not just what to serve them, but when to serve them and how. And that's the human why. And that's what I wanted to walk you through before we start doing some of that testing. The second part of this, and this moves it away from you as an individual and more onto the business side of it, is you've got the same correlation for a brand. So if we think about a brand, which could be one person, could be a solopreneur, or could be 100,000 people, is you get the same kind of thing going on that happens for an individual, where you've got a business's values. So you might switch jobs, right? And let's say you had exactly the same job title and in the same industry, but you moved from, say, Hugo Boss to Armani. And your first day at Armani, they say, look, we know how you do your job and you're good at it. We just do things slightly differently here. We've got slightly different values, which means that we've also got slightly different process, which means that we've also got a slightly different mission. So you adapt your behaviors just enough to fit in with your new job. And this happens for a mass of humans. So one of the things I want us to focus on today is this is the business why. But when you can understand different customers and different customer groups and who you are as a brand and what you're trying to serve people and what they're looking for, then you have individual desire meeting business alignment, and why talks to why. So I thought that was just a nice, interesting way to start looking at things, because I just want to explain things from your perspective, how your brain works, and then we can start looking at the brand side of it. So Ty, I don't know if you had any questions, or anybody in the audience had any questions, or if you just wanted to go into the live testing.
We'll definitely go into the live testing first. However, before we do that, so how did you guys find out? Let me know if you guys wanted any more like a elaboration in the theory before he goes into the live testing. Feel free to put that in the chat. I know well, hopefully everyone I know one person just came now. So was everyone clear on that, or do you have any questions before we go into the live presentation? Cool, 1 second. Very clear, all clear. Okay, cool. So that's fine. So yeah, what we'll do is that we'll go through the live presentation and go through a few examples. So I haven't sent you these ones. I thought it'd be great to kind of give some examples without giving you some context beforehand. So what I'll do is I'll go for the first one. Yep. The first website I got is it's called thread.com. I know you're probably familiar with this one. And I think that is it Jermaine? Jermaine's here. So Jermaine, feel free to unmute yourself and conversate with us as we're going through it. But just to give you some context, Martin,
Yep.
or Jermaine, do you want to share the context behind what you want to do or what you want to get out of it, or should I share it for you? Let me know.
Jermaine says, yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. Okay, needs to figure out his mic quickly. No worries. What I'll do, I'll share the context for you, and while you're figuring it out, and when you're ready, just unmute yourself, and then while he's presenting your site, um you can do it. So Jermaine said to me that our initial strategy for acquiring customers was selling our styling and recommendation service, and now we're scaling and starting to acquire customers via paid ads. These customers are looking for a single item in most cases, and we're trying to learn how best to introduce users who just want a pair of chinos, in exclamation marks,
Yeah.
to style, to a styling and recommendation service as well. Did you get that?
Yeah, all good.
Okay, cool. So I'll share my screen again, and then you can open up. Do you want to open up on your end, or should I open up on my
Yeah,
end?
no, I'll open it up on mine because we'll just do a little bit of a live test and run through
Okay,
stuff.
cool. No worries.
Okay, so the first things first, as Ty mentioned, I haven't done any prep and I didn't know the websites, but what's cool, my understanding of Thread is I did some work with a US version of this service called My Thread Lab.
Okay.
So if I'm right, then yeah, dress better in 3 minutes, great style. So this is like your kind of AI type thing, right? Where you're basically saying, what is your style preferences? What kind of clothes do you like? And then you get sent like a monthly or quarterly box. That's the service, right?
Yeah, Jermaine, your mic should be unmuted, so you can talk. Let us know. If not, you can just type in the chat. If you're finding it hard to get your mic working, you can type in the chat, and I'll just voice it for you.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is because I remember when I did my Thread Lab. So what's interesting about this was my Thread Lab, we got a 562% increase in paid customers. Let me
Cool.
just chat. Let's have a look.
Yeah, correct.
Need to figure out mine quickly. Okay, yeah, correct. Okay, cool. Right. So basically, what you've got is an opportunity in the marketplace, and I still think it needs to evolve. Right, is what you're basically doing is asking people what style do you actually like, and then you're trying to make their life easier because you're going to style them because you understand the clothing and stuff like that. Right. The one thing that I would say about this site, and I know the challenge is about advertising, but I always start with the website because you've got to look at what the anchor of what it is that the number one thing that you always want to have above the line. So in marketing language, think about above the line as literally everything you can see right now without having to scroll, right? So the number one thing that you want to do is to show proof that other people are already winning from what they're doing. So these images you can see in the background are great, but what the brain is hunting for, and I don't mind giving this to you for free because it's just a wonderful thing that you can keep exploring. The brain is looking for gains and outcomes. So I land on this site. This is me. I'll always talk from the customer's perspective. They land on the site and they say, what is in it for me and how am I going to win? So if you've got them to come to thread.com, whether it's from an advert or a piece of content or a friend's told them to go and check it out, at the moment, I understand you can help me dress better in 3 minutes, but I don't know why. I don't know that that means that you're going to deliver stuff to me. It might just be a normal e-commerce site. I think that Thread has some brand equity, but not enough for people to always have awareness of it. So we want to look at the behavioral economics world. And behavioral economics is the nudge theory. I'll tell you about that super quick, right? So nudge theory basically means that if you give people the right experience, you can influence them to the decision that's going to better help them. So there was one of the most famous ones was Schiphol Airport, which is the Amsterdam airport. They found that in the urinals, 70% of guys were peeing on the ground. Not they weren't peeing all their pee on the ground, but guys are disgusting, right? So they're bored at the urinals and they're peeing on the ground too much. So what they did was they put metal flies in the urinals, and 90% of that pee that was getting spilt got stopped. Because what did they do? They gave the guys a game to play, which meant that they started aiming at the fly and they got rid of the pee, right? That was the birth of what is known as nudge theory. What you always want in an e-commerce experience is social proof nudge. And a social proof is basically your customer selling your service, the gains and outcomes for you. So it would be somebody already dressed in the clothing saying, can't believe it, feel so styled. This is like an AI butler for me. It's things like that. All good? Makes sense, Ty? We good?
Yeah, Jermaine, let us know if you're following. Yep, it makes sense for him. Says yes.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
I'll let you do the chat and I'll just keep.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. So dress better in 3 minutes. Great style is about to get much simpler. So let's assume at the moment you've got a bounce issue. So bounce issue again is the language that if you're not addressing certain needs, people land on this page and they'll be gone because they can't understand it. They're not necessarily getting it clear to them. If I go to menswear and go to next, a new way to find amazing clothes. Absolutely wonderful. The challenge I would have with this is that sometimes when a business is based on software, it can have what I call a software heartbeat. If it has a software heartbeat, it means that you're focusing, you're looking in the way too much. So at the moment, what you're doing is showing those products. And by the way, I want that weekend bag. So Jermaine, I want this weekend bag sent to me. Forget about free one-to-ones, just a free one. But here's my point, is that the brain is going to buy based on it being able to imagine other people wearing it. And it's got nothing to do with age or creed or colour of skin or anything like that. If I can't see something, people wearing it, you've got one less chance of converting me, because that's neuroscience. The neuroscience, the brain, when it's shopping online, needs to see people wearing the clothes so it can understand the gains of what it's going to get. So that's the first thing that I would say about that. The next thing I would say is that the context of this language gets lost. So what you need to look at here is that we've got too much of a functional mindset going on. So fashion on the psychology level is all about how I identify myself. I'm wearing a Hugo Boss black t-shirt. That's how I style myself, right? So in order for me to be more engaged and to feel, that's what I need in the fashion sense. So I need to see people. That was the original landing page. Now I need to see people in it. And now I want, you know, the kind of icons with individual words? I would architect it like you're a butler service that just says, we make it quick and here's a time icon. We make it easy and here's a butler icon, and we style you. Maybe that's the butler, whatever, right? My point is that once people realize that you can make it easier for them, you can save time, and you're going to style them, that's absolutely fantastic. The thing for the tip that I would give you, Jermaine, about your example, so let me just replay it back and make sure I'm on the right page, Ty, if that's okay.
Sure.
You're talking about you're doing proactive, like Facebook advertising, and if people are only looking for a pair of chinos, how do you actually convert them to get a box, right? Because it's more than a chino. You're going to give them a whole look and outfit, right? Is that fair? That's the idea, Ty, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jermaine, confirm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's wait. Let's make sure that we're right.
Hold on 1 second. So he said that, yeah, it might be worth approaching the site via the store, question mark, as that will be their route in.
Yeah, no, I got you. Okay, so what he's saying is that when they do the advertising, they'll be sending people their landing page is the store. Is that correct?
Yeah. Hold on. I don't know what I did. People can still see your screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's Jermaine saying? I'll send an example in 5 minutes. Yeah, that would be there. Okay. So I think what he's saying is that it's going to take people into this store like this, right? So what you've got here is individual items. So they're not just sending stuff within the box. Let's see what example he gave us. Right, okay. So I guess the update for what I'm talking about is Jermaine, people can buy individual items, not just boxes. Is that correct? Because that's what I can do here, right? I can just add it to a box. I don't have to add a certain number of things to buy it, right?
Yeah, so that's correct.
Okay. So what I would start looking at for here is that let's draw a line between the box stuff. So I think there's ways to optimize that and get that regular stuff. So that's going to be ease, butler, styling people. But what we're now talking about for the advertising is more traditional e-commerce. So if somebody's looking for a pair of chinos, how do we know that they're actually looking for a pair of chinos, right? So there is some of the data within Facebook, so I'm not going to go down the data route. What I would be looking to do is to give them an experience. The best way for you to sell any e-commerce, and I recently doubled the sales for Elvis Jesus. It's a men's couture t-shirt brand. It's been going for 20 years, so doubling their online sales was pretty cool, was that we put all of our advertising into GIFs. I tell you why GIFs are great, because it's 6 seconds where the brain can take in way more information than what you realize. And also when you're doing retail and fashion, it means that you can show a lot of products or a lot of pictures of the products, and you can make it come to life. In fact, do you want me to find an example for Elvis Jesus so I can show you what I'm talking about? Would that be useful?
Sure.
Okay. So I'm just going to stop sharing. I'm going to keep explaining why this kind of stuff matters, because when you bring stuff to life for people, it just helps trigger the imagination. And that's both psychology, it's science, it's enablement, it's belief. The thing that I come back to over and over is that the brain can think about things, particularly unconsciously, in a lot more depth than we potentially realize. So by making things more about outfits instead of single products, you're always going to win more. So just give me a second. I'll tell you what we were doing with the Elvis Jesus stuff is that because they were like couture, I wanted a way to retell a story in 6 seconds. So this is it here. So we showed it nuts to bolts, from design to production to somebody wearing it, all the front and back. And this is a collection that we sold out in 4 days. And previously it would take them 6 weeks to sell a collection. You see what I mean? Because the aesthetic of what we were selling was about this. And it wasn't difficult for us to be able to do that kind of stuff. So that would be my tip for it, is start thinking about not just storytelling, but the medium of how you do it. Because the great thing about the gift that I think I mentioned just a minute ago is it doesn't stop playing, right? So we end up looping and getting fixated on gifts. That's why I love them so much, that you can take in a lot more information than that. In the same way that if you've just got me hooked on a Facebook advert, and then you just take me to a plain site like this is not a landing page. Now I just feel that I'm in a normal e-commerce setup. So if you're trying to hook me in that Thread can help me in multiple different ways, then take me to a landing page. It doesn't have to look vastly different from this, but you have to be selling the butler. You have to say there's an opportunity for the boxes. And the other thing as well, don't think about these adverts as just being a single entity where you're trying to sell an item. As a brand, why you exist is that you know how to style people and how to put things in a box, right? So you're going to have data within your system that says, okay, when like 98% of people that buy green chinos are going to buy a blue polo shirt, therefore let's show the associated products, or just show somebody wearing an outfit and have an option not just to add one product to the cart, but to add the outfit to the cart. The thing that I'm always encouraging people about is that people are not as fashionable as what we think. So the opportunity that Thread's got is to actually say, we know how to style people, and you don't have to wait until somebody fills out the QB forms. You can look at your data and just say, how do people actually pick outfits together? What works for people? And even when you're doing that advertising where you want to sell individual products, don't. Like, get people hooked on the one product, but then show them the whole outfit. Because if I could click to buy a whole outfit, it's the same experience of what you're doing, and that's what you guys stand for. So I don't know if that helps, Jermaine. I don't know if you had any questions. That was just a quick whistle-stop tour, really, of just some ideas for you.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Yeah, cool. So, and if you have any more questions, Jermaine, we have the Q&A at the end, so we'll open the floor. And then I see Anika had a question as well, so I'll be sure to share that at the end. So just to share, are we cool to move on to the next website?
Well, I do a lot on language and stuff like that, so yeah, sure isn't the best language I've heard. What I'm trying to figure out is how I can make him happier. So I feel like he has some questions that he wants to ask, but we'll address that later. Basically,
no worries.
How can I make Jermaine like so happy he's using excited words and he sends me that weekend back? That's my goal. Just being
okay. So Jermaine, you know his angle now, so that's cool.
Yeah.
So for now, so I'll move on to the next site. So this website is from a guy called David McQueen. He couldn't make it today as he's at award show, or he's sorting out some awards. So the website is www.davidmcqueen.co.uk. And the context he has here. So he said,
Sorry,
I want to
.co.uk or .co?
.co.uk.
Okay.
Yeah. And his context was, I want to promote my work as a speaker and then offer 3 core programs for companies, which combines my coaching and facilitation. I also want to up my content, both written and video and audio, through my blog. Welcome input on how you think I can improve. No filter.
That's not really good.
No filter. All right, cool. Does that mean that like I need to apply no filter to myself for what I talk about? So I'm getting.
Well, I guess you can shoot away. Yeah, he said no filter, so I guess yeah, why not?
Okay. So I've got a few coaches on my team, and we do a lot of work on psychology coaching and sales coaching. So this is a world that I know reasonably well. Exactly the same thing, right? So there's no great surprise here. It's like, why should I engage any further? Like, what can David do for me that nobody else can? I'm not getting any gains. I'm not getting any outcomes apart from he looks like a relatively handsome man. Not much else, right? He's helping leaders communicate. Well, I already know how to communicate. So the tag message is not getting me. For this type of thing, what's the difference between this and thread? Thread is much more personal. There's a psychological definition that I'm looking for myself with fashion. Whereas with coaches, it starts and ends with trust. So what I would do with this site that would be different is that I would put a carousel in here. So just, just images that flip round, maybe have 4 or 5. And what I would be driving is more social proof. So not a great surprise. It's going to come up every single website. It's a wonderful opportunity. It's how you convince people to engage, to scroll, to click, to do those different types of things. So I'd have some social proof. But the biggest thing that I would give David as advice is like, what is your so what? Like, if you're going to be a coach, you want me to spend money and I'm going to have to open my heart to you and tell you things about myself that I'm not comfortable with, right? So for me to even consider engaging with you, I need to know what you can do for me. That could be your qualifications. It could be the difference that you make. It could be the social proof that we've talked about. Hopefully that makes sense. Helping leaders communicate doesn't tell me enough. We're in a world where you've got employees that are disengaged, people that are not feeling that they're cared about at work. We've got leadership challenges left, right, and center. One of my partners is a management consulting firm, so they deal with kind of leadership challenges all the time. The biggest problem that you've got with leaders, and this looks like where he's focused, probably with executives, is that they don't communicate well. It's that classic thing of whispers between humans. We never communicate as clearly as what we think. Or for any of you that have a partner, it's like me saying something to my wife, and I think it's perfectly clear and everything's good. And then 2 days later, she's shouting at me, and I'm trying to figure out why, and it's because I didn't listen properly. You see what I'm saying? Right? The human communication is the challenge. So I would be looking to say, what is your hook? What is your so what? Why should I care? That's what I would be doing with David's site. And then as we scroll, so if we've got that kind of commitment, is we need all of this below the line. So communicate and grow is 2 fluffy words. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't talk to me about the benefits of what you're going to get. Keynote speaker, don't see any evidence of it. Coaching, great. Executive facilitation, kind of know what that means. It's a little bit loose. Could do with more color here. Gray is never good. Gray with black on top of it's never good because it's not good psychological colors. It causes rejection. However, look at this. Look at the gold of this. Look at some of the logos that we're looking at here. Now I'm suddenly thinking, oh my God, this guy's legit. So you could imagine if you put these logos at the top, because a lot of it is just a framing exercise to grab people's attention. If those logos were in the carousel and you had quotes from people, then you can start optimizing people. I'm just going to move our talking heads. Right. And then the other thing is that there's no call to action here. So the top right of a website should be a call to action for everything, whether you're on a landing page, whether it's your homepage, whether you're walking people through experiences. What is the point of a call to action? Well, let's imagine that you've got the context right, you've got the relevancy right, you've proven your worth to somebody. The call to action is ultimately the thing you want people to do, whether that is contact you, whether it's to check out if you're in thread. It's all those different things. It's in the same way that, just going back to the thread one, again, trying to convince Jermaine to send me a bag, but we did some landing page advertising for my thread lab, where a similar type of thing, where we were driving people to the site, but we had a GIF roulette wheel. So when you pressed it, it would land, and we had different ones, so different pages and different versions of it. So it would give you a discount off your first order as well. So it was explaining what the service is, boom, 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 and then here's the gains of it as well. So I would say that David is probably just needs to reframe it. And what I've often found with good coaches, so my guess is these logos make you pretty likely to be a good coach. We need to find out a little bit more and look at the about. But what you often find with a good coach is that they want to put other people first. And because they put other people first, they're very humble with things. And because they're humble, they misunderstand what they're supposed to be marketing. And what they're marketing is their proof, what other people think about them, their qualifications, their experience, all that kind of stuff, right? And he's talking about, most people know him as a motivational speaker, started as an accountant. He's got a little bit of humor in there. You can start seeing some of the keywords. It's too detailed. There's too many words here. So what you would want to do is just do a little bit of reframing, where you're putting in a little bit of visuals, a little bit of proof, like I was on stage here, great, show us. And when I was on stage, this is what happened. So it becomes much more of a visual kind of journey. So that would be it for me for tie with David's one. It's really just a reframing exercise where you've got to show the gains and outcomes, but show people more proof. That's what I would suggest.
Okay, great stuff. Cool. I got one more website here. So This website is called www.crownarch.com, and they just wanted a general review of how to increase revenue and sales. So I'm guessing lead generation, capture leads,
What's
make
the
more
second
sales.
part? Arch.
Crown Arch, so arch.com.
Okay.
And yeah, what am I doing for time? Okay, cool, that's fine.
Okay, so there's something that one of the techniques that we look at is called positive negative language, and that's, for example, you know, when you go to a meeting, right? So you meet somebody in person, and then your friend or your colleague asks you afterwards, like, you know, how was the meeting? And you're like, it was good. There was something not quite right. I'm not going to pursue it. You know what I mean? You've been in those situations, Ty, right?
Yep.
Right. So what's going on there is 70% of what we communicate is non-verbal. So it's our body language, it's how closed you are, how open you are, like whether you're squinting, whether you're just giving the impression, again, unconscious communication, that you don't actually believe what you're saying. And where that matters in the digital landscape is, again, the brain's hunting stuff to reject it, right? It's not looking for stuff to engage with. The brain's actual job is to reject as much stuff as possible. And the reason why it rejects it is that it can only handle so many conscious thoughts a day, so many conscious decisions. So when we see if, buts, and maybe language, we reject it. The reason why I explain that is the bad word that we have on this website is premium. Because if something's good quality, you don't need to say it. When you say premium, it actually has the opposite effect, because it's become one of those buzzwords that actually pushes people away. I like the elevate your style. I think that's great. If it is high quality watches, when you're saying premium and made affordable, it makes me doubt the actual quality of it. This is me talking as the consumer. The image is good. We've got environment stuff going on. We can see the human side of it. Because it's a watch, I'm less bothered about having the head in it, because head's more about clothes and helping the brain imagine where it is a watch. If you think about a watch, you'll do exactly what I did, which is you look at your wrist, which is weird, right? But that's what the brain does with it. So I think the evaluation's reasonable. Again, I'm a big fan of carousels. I'd be looking for more social proof. So what they could be doing to increase sales is that I always like the social campaigns where you get somebody to show you pictures in the environment. And I don't mean the fake crap that bad brands do on Instagram. I mean real people wearing it in the environment, and you give them a prize or a discount, or you're showing them on their handle. That kind of stuff would make it real. You don't need to have quotes with it. It's not that type of social proof. Thread is a different type of service and style and delivery, whereas for watches, it's much more about the imagery of what you show. So I would be looking to have that, where you might just have this picture and it might just say Thai, London, that type of stuff, right? That's the type of proof that you'd be looking for with the watches. So I think that this is pretty well just a reframing exercise and just embracing more of a rotation to show different people wearing it. Bestsellers, this is pretty good. I think that they've probably got a website. I get the impression immediately that the watches are always on sale. And the reason I think that, and the reason that I have a red flag rolling, is that they've said premium watches made affordable. And it makes me think that every e-commerce brand seems to be having a sale all the time. And it's got to the point where you're losing the value that goes behind it. What I can't tell at the moment is, what is the value of these watches? And they've done a classic thing that different brands do this different ways, is you're just showing a flat image. That does not look like a 3D watch to me. It looks like a flat, badly photoshopped image. So I'd be looking instead, again, to have the close-up, the wrist on somebody's arm, to use different colours of skin, different creeds, different things like that, but make it seem real. Because this is a classic thing that we do, where we're just showing the product, whereas hopefully if we go into it, waiting for the page to load, let's see what other pictures it got. Right, so there's less on the wrist, but this is a lovely close-up picture. Here's one on the wrist. That gives you an idea. I think we're at a point, they might be trying to sell just to suited people, but the variety is good. This is great. So this is actually a wonderful e-commerce conversion thing, because you're showing all these little bits and pieces about it, and you're basically doing the sell. You're doing the affirmation for people when they're checking it. But I would be making the lead image on the previous page. This one's good in a close-up, but this is perfect. And actually what you can see, I know we're looking at how we can grow sales, Ty, but there's some good lessons for people. They're doing a lot of the fundamentals of e-commerce really well, like the specification, they're playing a video, they've got tons of different close-ups. I just think that the step before, you need to be doing a better job of saying, why should I like each one? So if you think about it, you're leaving it to me to think about which of these 6 watches do I want to investigate. So what's my choice? It really just comes down to the color of the bezel. And I know some of the wrists are a little bit different, but you need to show a little bit more range than that. Let me just check the chat.
That's a question for later. No, I'll watch the chat for you. It's fine.
Okay, cool. So my point about this is that this is just a reframing exercise. They're doing a lot of the fundamentals right, Ty. But one of the biggest things about optimization is that you have to think about first impressions matter. And for this watch, show me it. Show me what people are gaining from it. And the other thing as well, if we go into a second watch, let's just do a little test. Let's look at this one. And what I want to just check and see is, okay, this one only has 2 pictures. So I've gone from complimenting the first one to now you've got people that are not making the effort to make the consistency, and consistency matters an awful lot. Because if I'm a buyer, right, and I've just looked at the first one, I want the same close-ups, the same experience, the same consistency, and then it gets lost. I go into this one and it only has 1 picture, right? So this is where you've got a world where people are often rushing and they don't understand the context of why it matters to have this kind of consistency and details. You shouldn't just be lost in one type of watch. So the irony here is I think they've got the opportunity to add a menu that would be much more styling like the thread stuff, where you don't just have your best sellers. You say, is it for casual? Is it for business? It's kind of stuff like that. Then we've got this stuff, which is the stuff I was talking about, as styled by others. So what I'd be looking for here is show me the numbers. These look like great Instagram shots, right? So show me the Instagram numbers, show me the person's name, sell it for me. And these are actually really cool pictures, right? So this is all your environment stuff. Why is this not in the start of the experience and in each of the products, right? That would be cool for me. And then we got that little pop-up and stuff like that, Ty. I think that's more of an opportunity. A lot of times people are just using that pop-up when they feel that people are about to go.
Yeah.
I think you can talk more about style for this type of one, get rid of the premium, get rid of the affordable, and just stand for more of what you are, which is a cost-effective, high-quality watch, right? You just got to reframe it to be more of an opportunity and more of an aspirational thing rather than assuming that you're being defensive about costs, I guess.
Cool.
Is that cool?
Perfect. That's amazing. So what I'll do, so I'm sorry, just with regards to your time, how long do you have? Do you only have the hour? I wanted to do.
I can go if we've got questions.
Okay, cool. So what we'll do is that I want to give opportunity just in case anyone else on this call, because I only asked for 3 websites. But I thought it was good for time and you're cool to stay. Does anyone on the call want to just quickly give Martin their website to review? It could be a 1-pager, it could be anything. Okay, so I have a one here. So if we can go to lapopo.com.co.uk. So lapapo.co.uk. LAP. Okay, so we'll just take those 2. So lapapo.co.uk.
Okay.
So we'll go for like a quick 2-minute one, and then we'll do another one for Noah Excel as well.
I must say that it's worth me emphasizing at this point, the reason that I'm doing the 5 free consultations with people is not just because Ty asked me to do it, but what you get when you do a quick look like this, it can often sound like I'm just being negative, like my job's just to criticize stuff, but that's how analysis starts, right? So hopefully the stories are coming across about what are opportunities, and it's not just me criticizing stuff like that. Okay, so special education needs I know quite well, SEN as it's known. So I've done some work in this particular area. I think it's a wonderful thing, whoever's doing this business, first and foremost. The challenge we've got with this is just the functional setup of it, because I'm looking at this top menu, right? And then I've got this gap, and then I'm looking at this menu, and then I'm looking at this other part of it, and it's a little bit too much of a mess. So the flow of it is too confusing for people. So it's going to make me think that I'm going to bounce. The next thing about it is that it's got a shop and it says start selling. So it's not quite clear to me. So it has to be whichever your key call to actions are. Or if you're both selling and you want people to buy stuff, I would just reframe this. I would have your image, make it bigger. I would just say building a community of what, or a shop for this, or a workplace for this, or a marketplace, sorry, not workplace, a marketplace for this. And then I'd have 2 buttons, either start selling, and then you take people on that journey, or the shop. You see what I mean? Because what you're really doing is you've got 2 markets that you're looking to serve, which is the shop and selling. Otherwise, it's just way too confusing at the moment. If I was to pop into the shop, we'll just see. So the hosting seems quite slow for me a little bit. Again, so we don't need this top menu. I just do a little bit of reframing there. Popularity is good. Filter by price is good. The product categories, this is brilliant. This is really brilliant. So what we're dealing with here is a store that has specialist things, right, for different types of people. And the fact that you can select by conditions here, I know a ton of people in this space that would be super interested in it. So I think this is marvelous. I think when we click on it, I don't know why there's a price range. It might be because it's like an Alibaba type thing or different sizes. What most websites do, and it's perfectly fair to do, is you start with the lowest price based on the smallest size of something. And then when people select the sizes, it gets bigger. Some consumers get frustrated with it, but what's more confusing to people is trying to understand the different price ranges. So we did this for a mattress company recently, and we did it that way, and it increased sales for doing that. Choosing size is all good. I don't know why I'd be choosing different weights that go with different sizes. So there might be a functional reason to that, but I think it's just one step too many about what you're offering people unless you're actually explaining it. So it does have a bit of an explanation about weight. My general comments about this, if we go, I just wanted to look at the other part about it, is selling your own here. Handpick supports special needs, register your interest, sell products, great, promote your services. So I've seen many people attempt these types of services. My guess for this is that it might be probably within the first 2 years of its existence, and it's been started by somebody where what they're doing matters to them a lot, either because of a family member or they got associated with a charity at some point in their life. What happens with that is that we end up trying to do all the best, amazing things that we could do. What you're losing because you're doing that is your goal here is to get people to sell products. And that's all wonderful. I would raise a question that says, I get it about promoting services, about being a therapist and getting a cut of their stuff and things like that. I just don't know whether that's a completely separate section or a completely separate business. But either way, you need to change things so you've got sell your services or sell your products and your shop. If you make it products and the therapy stuff of selling your services, it can get a little bit confusing because what you're trying to do is generate trust for the consumer, for the buyer, about either they've got products they want to show people or they've got products they want to buy because of children or people that they know, right? So I think that you just need to have a think about which direction do I want to go in, because the practical side about what you're doing, the difference you're making is wonderful. It just needs a little bit reordering. It's a little bit confusing at the moment. But overall, I thought it was great. I thought the menu system was just fantastic. I think it's really clever to have it by the need of what you're trying to support people with.
Perfect. And cool. I hope that helped, Annika. And we have one more. So Noir Excel. That's NOIREXCEL.com.
It's late. It's late in the evening. You'll have to go again.
NOIRXL.com.
Yeah. No.
So hold on. How did you spell it? NOIREXCEL.com.
Like that?
Hold on, I can't even see the thing. 1 second. Yeah, try that. And if it doesn't work, you can go into the chat and click the link.
Feels like I'm going to some kind of sexy website.
Okay, cool. There we are.
So my first piece of feedback for Emmanuel is that you have to look at reframing your language to simplify it a little bit. So your so what is the thing that should be on that page straight away, right? So reach your financial goals. What financial goals? It's not clear to me. Like, are you helping me invest stuff? Do you help me with a pension? Are you doing like St. James's Place stuff? If you're educating me, then say that, because by coming equipped with adequate knowledge, I don't want adequate knowledge. I want real knowledge. I don't just want to be good enough. I want to be the best at something if you're going to play about with my money. So my point about that is that you just need to think from the customer's perspective, right? Because when you're an expert at something that you do, like what you obviously are, is that you've got to dial stuff back. I'm always encouraging people to dial stuff back to step one. So we were doing this with a very famous TV brand last week. It was some of the work that I was doing with Ogilvy, one of the world's largest advertising agencies. And what they were doing was focusing too much on what the tech does and not thinking enough about the end user that they're trying to serve. So what I'd be looking at here is to do some persona building, right? So you'll know from your sales experience and the customers you've got, what are the top 4 things that people come to you about? Maybe that's education, maybe it's investment, maybe you end up leaning towards the same thing, but at the moment you're not serving those 4 different markets. And the reason we pick 4 and talk about 4 problems is that it's always a good way to start, so you don't end up overthinking it and getting into too many different kind of rabbit holes. And what I would do straight away is address those 4 things. You need to change some of the design here, because this looks like a footer. This language gets lost. It looks like it's just what we call filler colors. So you can't necessarily see the point that you're trying to make. So most people landing on this website are going to be see it and gone, unless they've actually been told to check something out. They've got a strong referral or recommendation. You just need a little bit of reframing that goes with this. So you've got seminars, right? So I think that your goal is to teach people about investment, whether it's shares, whether it's insights, and you're doing events for that as well, financial service reviews. Right, so this has got more practical stuff. You're just doing a classic thing that people that have got more of a finance mind do, and that's not. So I'm just, give me one sec. The classic thing that you do when you've got a finance mind is that you're using lots of words, and it's plain and simple and practical to you, but that's not how people buy. It's not how people think. So what naturally happens with the brain when we're a solopreneur or we're in charge of our website is that we explain and show things based on how we think. And that only at best ends up serving about 25% of people. Most people need visuals, they need the story, they need to get pulled into actually what you do. And like I've said with all the websites, you need the social proof here. You need to actually show other people that you've helped. You need to show yourself on stage at the seminar. You need to show one of those shots, you know, where you can see like 10 heads here and then you're on the stage, because that shows belief and proof that people listen to you, that you've got something interesting to say. So I'd be looking to do that. I'd also look at your live events that you do. You do what I call gold mining. So if you've given a good seminar, you say to people, there's a form on your table. If you could fill it out and please tick the box and let me know I can share your quote. And that becomes wonderful. So the events that I run with Google, we do that kind of stuff, and we end up getting hundreds of testimonials. So we can just pick and choose from literally hundreds of stuff. So if people give us great feedback about this topic, and then a few months later we're doing another event that's got a similar type of topic, then we can give people more of what they want, so they buy the validity, they get the proof, and it goes on like that. So just a way of time tie. So just I think that.
No, right. That should be cool, man. Thank you for sharing that. So are we cool? If you can stop sharing, I'll basically just do things 1 second. Cool. Give me a moment to get myself together. Okay, so we've gone through the 3 websites and team. Also, thank you for helping us with that, Martin. What we'll do right now, just kind of like go to the audience Q&A. We won't answer all of your questions because of time, but we'll just go through the first few. That cool, Martin?
Yeah, great.
Okay, cool. I see. Let me go back up. So Amos, apologies, just for time-wise, isn't it? Apologies. But of course, as Martin said, if you want to go for that free consultation, then we'll share that how we can do that at the end. But the first question I got from Anika was curious about the top ways to make it more human, as suggested. I'm not sure whether you want to, if you understand that, Martin or Anika, if you want to unmute yourself and you want to explain. But
which website?
I think it was. Hold on 1 second. this is one of the earlier stuff. I think it was great when you were talking about the presentation. I don't think we looked at the website. It was a presentation you were talking about.
Okay.
Anika, do you want to clarify that question? And I'll ask another question, and if you want to clarify that question, you can answer it after.
Yeah, that'd be great. That makes sense.
That's cool. The question that another person has, Sam, he says, what kind of psychology is involved in selling on social media, i.e. Instagram, and how is it best optimized?
So it's a great question. The thing about Instagram is that it's the way that the brain locks in what type of social media is based on what it originally uses it for, right? So we still think within the brain that Twitter's about words and short amount of words, that Facebook's there for friends and family and not being able to get your mum from following you on Facebook, right? And then Instagram's there for the visual side of it. And it tells stories, right? That's the number one thing about Instagram, is that you're telling stories, you're showing gains, and you're pulling people in based on what you represent. The number one tip that I've got for you is about what you represent, not your products and not your services. It's about the gains that are on offer for people. So if it's fashion and it's retail, or it's food and it's drink, what you're basically selling to people is, this is what we represent, this is how we make your life better, this is how we're cool, we'll show you stories about that. If it's like, say, professional services or business services, then it's much more about you as a personal brand. So telling stories that show both your vulnerability, your humor, and how accessible you are, that's how you win from all of that. And I did some work recently with Zine, Zine, which is the influencer marketing platform. And we did tons of stuff like this. And some of the best social influencers that I know are just wonderful storytellers, but they're not scared to actually be themselves. And no brand should be, because the thing that I always say to anyone, no matter what size of business they are, what's the one thing that you can do that large brands and large competitors can't do? And that's, you can have a personality, you can swear if it matches what you're doing. Because I'm Scottish, I like swearing. What's my point? Is that you can be more about yourself, and you can pull people in because you have a passion, you believe in what you do, but beyond anything else, you understand how it matters to your audience.
Cool. Perfect. I hope that answered your question, Sam. And just going back to Annika's question, she said that how to make the website more psychologically friendly and draw people into buying. So I'm guessing that kind of like relates to what Sam just asked. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So, I mean, the thing with any website that I always say to people is, how can you humanize the experience? So if you think about it, if you don't see lots of visuals and iconography and people enjoying themselves, and we did some work, here's a great example, right? We did some work recently with a travel and tourism company, huge one. And in their pictures, they had decided not to use people in it. And they had no logic for it. And I said, but if you don't show people in it, then how am I supposed to believe that people are having a good time and are actually at that place? It just makes me think that you've just got an empty hotel. So the idea of humanizing stuff is no more than saying, how do I want somebody to think and to feel about what I do? And if I can show my customers are already happy with it, that's step one. And then step two is just all the visualization stuff. And then what you do with visualization is you can put little words over it. You can do stuff like that. Like I always compliment Ty literally for his individual skill set. He's a wonderful copywriter. And when he puts creative stuff together, if he's doing Facebook adverts and things like that, he'll do a wonderful picture of the product, but then he'll overlay it with an emotional type word or a story with lots of like really short words with it. And that's how you can humanize something. So hopefully that answers your question.
Cool. Thank you. Okay, so let me see if there's one more question here. I think that we've got most of them. Jermaine said he had to go. Obviously, I think he wants to be put in contact with you. So what I'll do now?
He's just gone because he's trying to mug me off about that.
No, he says, hey, let me read his comment. He said, dang, I have to go. Thanks, Ty and Martin, for your time. Ty, if you could remind me how I can find Martin's content company via WhatsApp, I appreciate that. I want to give people the opportunity to, how can people find you right now? By the way, guys, before you answer that question, Martin, so in regards to how you can access that free consultation, what we'll do is that, as always, at a summary email that you guys get tomorrow, I'll give all the details about who can apply for that consultation, and the people that I think Martin will hand select the top 5. You said 5.
Yep.
That he'll love to work with and have a consultation with, so you get that. So yeah, cool. So yeah, where can people find you, Martin?
So you can get me on LinkedIn. For anyone that wants to contact, Ty's going to do the follow-up stuff as well. I don't use any other social media purely because I did all the studies, and it just, to me, was, I have no judgment for anyone, but for me personally, I realized that it was just triggering anxiety for me and I was just wasting time. So I use LinkedIn because I have to for my business. Otherwise, you can contact me via Ty. You can give out my phone number if you want to WhatsApp me with any Q&A, and that's not just the 5 free consultations. You're welcome to chat with me about whatever. The other thing as well is that Ty's going to be involved in the Google events as well, and we're kicking that off in earnest towards the end of July. So I'd love to meet you all in person. That's the free event anyway, and it's hosted by Google, so it's pretty cool. So I'm sure that you'll be pinging something out about that, Ty. So just, yeah, whatever people want to do, really.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So at this point, what I want to share as well, so you guys know, similar to like the people that we have on the call today, Martin, over the last few months, we've had various speakers that have expertise in stuff like Amazon FBA, Facebook marketing, paid marketing in general. As you can see, we have a digital marketing expert with a behavioral science background. I say that to say this is that we are building like a all-in-one freemium course for e-commerce entrepreneurs called the e-commerce success blueprint. And what it basically is a way for us to figure out, okay, you guys are on these calls, you're taking all this value in, but people that are, let's say, joining at later dates that miss the value are unfortunately missing out on all of the value shared. So we said, how can we get my knowledge and how can I plug my information and knowledge gaps with individuals like Martin in this all-in-one course that will give individuals a head start with their e-commerce business, or if they have an existing e-commerce business, how can they do better? So in order for us to make that effective, we are rolling out this course. But before we do that, we thought it would be best to share a survey with you guys. So if you guys are looking at the chat right now, you'll see a survey that Sam shared about the e-commerce success blueprint. Is literally 1 minute. And as you can see here, help us help you. So by you completing that survey, we'll know exactly what we will need to include to make it happen. And tomorrow's call will give you some more details about the e-commerce success blueprint. So please click there and yeah, answer it. So as well as that, another survey as well, guys. So for every single A call, what we like to do to ensure that we're improving every single week, that we obviously ask every single one of you that attended, how can we improve? So again, this is a even less of a time waster. It's 30 seconds. Just answer a few questions, yes and no's, and give us some value of how we can help you out in the future. So I do hope you guys have enjoyed this call. Just to end it, just to remind you guys, the A in 18 stands for active, and that's active commitment today inspires victory every day. And of course, we affirm, we commit, we test, we iterate, and we validate, and then we execute on our plans to make it real. So again, guys, thank you for jumping on the call. Martin, much love for jumping on the call. And I hope you guys have a lovely weekend, and I'll speak to you guys next week. Cheers.
Thanks, Ty.
Appreciate it.